I posed a question last time, introduced by the pasuk, obviously, of Vayomer Hashem el Avram, Lech lecha ma'artzecha u'mimolatcha u'mibeit avicha el haaretz asher ekra. And the question I posed, which isn't like a new question, who's this guy? Right? I told you that in the past, Adam had quite the resume, being the only candidate for the job. And then we went to Noach and we graduated a little bit where Noach had some kind of values, characteristics, tzaddik, tamim, hitalechim, elokim. We talked about in the future that Moshe would have an entire half a parak dedicated to who he was. Then the second half of who he became. And then 60 years later, God then found him. And I talked about Yirmiyahu chosen from the womb. And almost every leader that we've had of significance has been one that has been introduced to us. Shaul, Shmuel, David. Because it makes sense educationally. Because for God to pick somebody, we'd say, oh, of course he must be right. That's like a faith thing. But an educational thing, we have to know why. God has to be modeling for us what is right and what is wrong. What makes sense and what doesn't. So to have someone chosen and in this position to basically initiate who we are as a people, to have nothing, to have no background, was quite bewildering. Okay? I mentioned that there was, traditionally this midrash. Okay? The midrash that everybody, I think, knows on some level, some permutation, some variation thereof, but I read to you the original. Okay? To review, because it was, I know, last time, and weeks go by and memories get lost. Terach goes on a trip and leaves Avram in charge of the store. This man used to come in whenever Terach did that, want to buy an idol, and Avram would mock him and say, how old are you? He'd say 50, 60, and you're going to bow down to a 1-year-old or 1-day-old idol? That's crazy. And he would walk out embarrassed. And this woman would come and offer this solet, this fine flour, and say, give it to the idols. And he gave it one day when she came in and he offered it. He put it in front of the big one and they took an axe and smashed all the other idols. And when Terach, his father, came home and said, what happened? He said, it was not my fault. This woman came in. You should have seen it. The idols went crazy. And this big one over here with this axe in his hand, he smashed all the idols. And Terach said, oh, you're just playing with me. They can't think. And Avram says, yeah, do you hear what you're saying? So Terach says, the only thing I can do is such an uppity son, is he takes him to Nimrod. And Nimrod says, I'm going to force you to bow down idolatrously to Or Kasdim, to our God of fire. And Avram gives him this runaround. He says, fire? Why not water? Water puts out fire, water is stronger. Let's bow down to water. Fine, water. Well, if you're thinking water, what about the cloud? Cloud can collect water. Let's go to cloud. Fire will go to cloud. Well, wind blows cloud. We should go to wind. Fire will go to wind. Well, people can withstand wind, so maybe we should bow down to people. Nimrod had enough and said, you either bow down to our God, the fire, or I'll throw you into the furnace and see if your God saves you. Haran, Avram's brother, is standing there, says the Midrash, and says, whoa, this is crazy. I'm going to wait it out. And if Nimrod is right, i.e. Avram dies, I'm going to pledge loyalty to Nimrod. But if Avram comes out unscathed, I am in. His God is obviously tremendous. Avram goes in, comes out, and they ask Haran, what do you want to do? He says, oh, I'm with Avram. I defy you. They throw him in, and he gets burned up. Yeah, well, he gets burned his insides. He comes out, and he dies on Pnei Terach Aviv. Okay, that's the Midrash. So let me ask you this. How did Chazal answer this question? Right, I know, it's not in the text. But Chazal obviously had the issue we had. It's not really a tremendous question. It's an obvious question. So how did Chazal answer it? Why did God pick Avraham? What made him the one to choose for the initial origin of our nation? It's not your question, yeah.
He's defying and going against the will of Zara.
Right, and pledging allegiance to
God.
God. The first monotheist, as it were. Oh, if that isn't a badge, hire me, God, I don't know what is. To spread the word in the midst of all idolatry and polytheism. Avram says, I'm in. I'm going to defy it all and worship my God loyally and devotedly. Oh, even to be thrown into the Kivshan Ha'esh, such martyrdom. B'Shem Hashem, Kiddush Hashem, Horeg, Val Yavor. I mean, these are all like good Jewish things. God loved this stuff. He says, he's my man. Perfect. Yeah? Like you know I'm good, yeah? Sarah, fine? A lot of us? Who in this midrash mentions God? What? Nimrod. Who doesn't mention God once? Okay, so wait a second here. This is the script to describe our monotheistic loyalty of all. And the only time God is mentioned is through Nimrod. Avram never speaks it once. Shema Yisrael Hashem, nothing. Yeah, there's nothing going into the... And which God label did Nimrod use? Did you notice? The obvious one, but my point is, which one did he use? Which label of God? I have it off. 5 lines from the bottom. Ve'yavo, I'm going to throw you into the furnace, and Ve'yavo, Eloha. You know what Elohim is when it's not Elohim with a capital Aleph? It's just God with a lowercase g. Not only does Avram not mention God at all, it never leaves his lips, this devotee of God, but the only mention of God isn't even Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. It isn't even the personal God. It's this godliness, I don't know, like fire and clouds and rain. There's nothing unique about God in this midrash at all. Yeah?
Did Abraham have to outwardly say and speak about God for his actions to reflect that?
No, all I'm saying is, this is a script that tells us how loyal he was to God, and he doesn't mention him once. But that's not my only issue. Second, where is Abraham's loyalty portrayed here? Where do we see him being monotheistic? Where is it expressed?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. What's the only thing he does? Twice.
Denies the other God.
Yeah. Denies it because of why? Specifically, he points out what? Both times. To Terach and to Nimrod.
That they were just built.
No, bigger than that.
They don't make sense.
The absurdity of it. Avram doesn't mention once the greatness and truth of God. All he does is marks and highlights the absurdity of idolatry. Again, I don't know, where's this God guy? He could be an atheist, for all we know. Oh, except for Nimrod, who tells us that he wasn't. Are you kidding me? All he does is point out how stupid idolatry is, not how great the worship of God is. And let me ask you another question. How many drums were playing, do you think? Big bass drums were playing. And how many trumpets were sounding when Avram slowly descended into the Kivshan Ha'esh? What do you think?
A lot.
Yeah, Nimrod's orchestra, a live pit, yeah. Dun, 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 down. Hammer's going down. He's going to go down. And then what's going to happen when he comes out? The angels play their trumpet. All the rays of light. The man of God has ascended unscathed. Dun, dun, dun. At least, he didn't speak it, Michaela. He merely represented it. Okay, he mocked idolatry and didn't mention God. Okay, but there's no doubt in our minds when he comes out of the ultimate test by fire, right? That became an expression forevermore, right? Trial by fire. He came out victorious, and if that isn't louder than words, I don't know what is. You want a candidate for leadership? Look at that moment. The crescendo of spirituality. The climax of devotion. Can you read to me how they relayed that scene? Just like in the words of the Midrash. Like that little, that moment of brilliant martyrdom and proven loyalty. How does it relay it? What are the words? Tyler Davis, could you close the door, please? Wait, close the door so I can hear you better.
The door is closed.
It is?
Yeah. Someone's screaming. I don't know. I can't hear.
Could you close the door to the roof,
What door is that?
please? It's so loud when they teach. I don't understand.
Right.
In the back.
Oh, it's in the Beit Midrash?
Yes.
What's the Beit Midrash? You know what? Okay, coming back.
I think she went down.
To close the Beit Midrash.
Yeah, she's gonna build a door.
Okay. How long do you think it's going to take? I don't know. No, really. Where did she go? Thank you, but I don't want to lose Yuki.
Sorry.
Into the abyss of the baby Josh. Oh, there she goes. Oh, good. You came out unscathed. Good. So what are the words that describe it? Three lines from the bottom, yes? Kevan shiarad Avraham l'kishana eish v'nitzol amrin le demanat. I'm going to translate that for you. And when Avraham descended into the Kivshana Eish, into the furnace, and he was saved, they then turned to Haran and say, to whom do you pledge your loyalty? How does the Midrash treat Avraham's dramatic descent into the test of loyalty?
Not dramatic.
It's an introduction to the next line. It's an introduction to explain why Haran died. Because you know what this pasuk is on? This pasuk isn't on Vayedaber Hashem el Avram lech lecha. This pasuk is trying to explain how Haran died and what it means Haran meit al pnei terach aviv. The subject isn't Avram at all. And even if you want to say he didn't need to verbalize, even if you want to say, okay, he was just undermining Avodah Zarah, he didn't even have a dramatic scene. It was, and when he went down and he was saved. Now let's get on with business. So, what is this? I don't know if I can walk away feeling any more convinced. I don't know if I turn around and say, oh, now I understand why Avram, it all makes sense now. If you're going to write a midrash, write something that seems to address the issue. On the pasuk, we want to be addressed. It's not even textually accurate. Forget about contextually. Yeah, Nava?
Maybe because Haran made it
Haran.
they made it a bigger deal. Like,
Great.
because once he died, then you see, oh wow, that actually was a big deal. Because he died, if he didn't die, like, okay, well then everybody will then die.
I'm with you, and totally. But could it have spent 2 more lines on Avram going into the furnace and being saved? You can say maybe make it a bigger deal, but I don't think it was made a deal at all. That's my issue. It sort of is this bump into getting to where they really wanted to get to. The contrast would have been amazing. The control would have been a literary device. But there's no control. There's no Avram against Haran. It's just, and Avram went in, and then they asked Haran 4 lines, and it's much more dramatic. Haran goes in, and he gets his inside burns, and he crawls out, and he dies. That's something. Give me some kind of miraculous glow. And a shining, I don't know, shining skin. There's precedent for that. Yeah?
Generally, midrashim come in to fill in gaps in the text. So what exactly is this one doing if it's not?
Right. This is explaining what it means. Vayamot Haran al pnei terach aviv. He didn't make the failed trip to Canaan. And this is the midrash that explains what happened. And what does it mean al pnei aviv? Because he literally came out and died on his father's lap. That's the hole it's filling. And it sounds, except for the fact that 2/3 of it is about Avram, but that which is about Avram is unconvincing. So it's like useless. Yes? Dilemma still at the forefront of our minds. Obviously we can't answer it until we do a little Edwin Arlington Robinson from the 19th century. Richard Cory. Everybody should have, or at least be able to access it. Ready? Richard Cory, yes? I don't. Is that what you're asking me? Yes, I'm sorry, I don't. I had 34, and I gave them all out last week, so unless there was some kind of terrible spies that were just there to take Makarot sheets, I don't know why today we have 28, why we would have less. I don't know, I'm sorry. Did you have any in the back there?
We don't have any. We could take
They don't
them.
have
I'll share it work.
Yeah, that's right.
Well,
Is only one that's?
2 can share with.
I'll share it first.
Thank you. Whenever Richard Cory went downtown, we people on the pavement looked at him. He was a gentleman from sole to crown, clean-favored and imperially slim. And he was always quietly arrayed, and he was always human when he talked. But still he fluttered pulses when he said, "Good morning," and he glittered when he walked. And he was rich, yes, richer than a king. And admirably schooled in every grace. In fine, we thought he was everything to make us wish that we were in his place. So on we worked, and waited for the light, and went without the meat, and cursed the bread. And Richard Cory, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head. As we talked about before, you have your tone setting, stage defining device in the first line or two. I don't know where else to move it.
Well, I'm just saying out loud what he's putting as well.
Sure, it's the first 2 lines.
Okay, thank you.
Whenever Richard Cory went downtown, we people on the pavement looked at him. Okay? What do you think? Remember, it fits the tone. If I moved it here, would everybody lose? Because then it would be split in the middle? That would defeat the purpose? Okay. So maybe I'll do half class, half class. I'll switch in there. Whenever Cory went downtown, Richard to his friends, I'm not, so I'll write to Cory. We people on the pavement looked at him. What do you think? Where are the hints? Where's the tone? Where's the stage? What are we already being told of the speaker, of the subject? Tally Davis?
There's an element of isolation.
Element of isolation. Okay, narrow it down.
Well, 2 things. It says we, the people were sitting. And also the notion of him when he does go downtown means that like there's also physical isolation.
Yeah. So let's do the we first, right? Anytime you say we, it's already a classification of not the other, right? It's we and, in this case, him. So there's already a distinction, there's already a separation. What do you do with when he went downtown? What does that mean? What reality must, can, and should be assumed?
That he wasn't always in downtown.
Where was he?
On the outskirts.
No, where was he?
Uptown.
Uptown. Right? When he went downtown, it's because he was coming from uptown. Okay. That was his normal place, and he visited downtown. What else? Yeah, Kanal.
His like full name is almost like a title that's like recognized by everyone.
Yeah, I don't know, certainly. But I'm not sure. Yeah, right, as a formality there. That's cool, that works. The only problem is we have no other names in this. So if we had a name which is less formal, a name which is more formal, I could say that. But if there's only one name, I'm not sure. It fits in, but I'm not sure it proves it. Let's do it that way. Yes, Guy?
Connected to the we on the pavement, so it's like a physical segregation and more like they're like on the sidelines.
Good. So we people on the pavement, that means he is above the pavement. I doubt floating, but maybe in a carriage, right? Horse-drawn carriage or something, or on a horse. Good. We people on the pavement, as opposed to he above or elevated. Yeah?
Looked at him shows that it's how they're perceiving him.
Sure. But then I could have said saw him, yeah?
But like they
Yeah.
like actively searched for him. Not searched, but
Gazed would have been maybe? See, look, I think is stronger than saw, which I'm with you, but maybe less strong than gazed. So I wonder what the connotation of looked is. That's cool. What's the connotation of look? We, people on the pavement, right, looked at him. Yeah?
Maybe like an activity, like when it's ritual, like whenever he did it, everyone knew to go out and look because it's something.
Sure,
to see.
so what is that looking though? Where else would you have looked this way? What other situation?
There was a horse and like something
Oh,
cool to
right.
look at.
Zoo, right? A museum, right? So what is Richard Corey to them?
a spectacle.
Yeah, some kind of object, some kind of spectacle, right? Some kind of exhibit. Okay, they just looked. That's all they could do, right? I don't know if it was a scheduled thing, as it were, but that's what they did. When he came to town, all they could do was just look. This thing that they didn't recognize, this thing that was special to them, just walked by. Yeah?
Would one ever infer that it is like a ritual, that it is without them?
Yeah. Again, it would seem easily that, we had business downtown or whatever it was, for sure. So whenever it happened, because whatever could also be randomly.
Yeah.
Right? It could be either way. So whenever this happened, this definitely consistently happened. So whenever he came, I don't know how consistently, but whenever he did, this is what they always did. Okay. So, what are we already being told? What are we already supposed to be appreciating? Narrator and Richard Corey. The narrator representing them and Richard Corey. What do we know? What are we told? What's our stage? Beyond a shadow of a doubt. Yeah?
They're two distinct classes.
More than that? Not only distinct, but?
Unequal?
Yeah, and how unequal?
Like Richard Corey's higher than them and they're
Right.
more lower.
So it's not merely that they are distinct, there's an elevated and a low, a superior and inferior. Okay? So there's a definitive distinction between these two people, and the distinction is specifically that Richard Corey is from uptown. He doesn't merely walk on the pavement. He's not like the rest of the people where everybody who is normal can merely look at him because he is an exhibit, because he is something to see. Okay? So a distinct hierarchy of stature and class. writing in the third line. He was a gentleman from soul. Yeah, Michaela.
I guess like you wouldn't be 100% sure what this looking was, and it appears now that it's more admirable than they're like it's a positive, like admiring.
Why? Why do you say that? What word?
Gentleman.
What?
Gentleman.
Gentleman. Right? There was something genteel about him, and interestingly, knowing about our theme that was set up in the first two lines, what other connotation or what implication does calling him by the narrator a gentleman have?
That everyone thinks it.
Sure, it's going to be a general consensus for sure. But if he's calling him, or they're calling him, or labeling him as gentlemen,
Higher level.
keep going, which means they are?
On the lower level.
Come on, give me the word.
Inferior.
Not gentlemen.
Admiring.
No, gentleman and?
Oh, peasant.
Yeah, I don't have to go that far. Quick commoner.
Oh, common.
So yeah, he could have acted in a very genteel way, but there's once again, if we're doing this contextually, it's following the theme of raising him even higher. We're just a commoner, he's the gentleman. Yeah?
Also, the fact that it says silk crown, so they look at it as sort of royalty.
Yeah. And it's crazy because Alana what were the steps he took? In 3 lines, where did Richard Corey come from and go to?
He went from being like some guy that goes downtown to being royalty.
Right? With gentlemen in between. In 3 lines, he's already got that to some kind of regal station. Not just good, but of royalty. Yeah.
But crown in a sense could also mean head, like.
Excellent. So now. I spelled that wrong, right?
Yeah.
Another word for soul that we know, i.e. that we know.
The heel.
Yeah, but more importantly,
Foot.
foot. And another word for crown, as in the crown of one's top of one's body, is.
Head.
So now, what's this expression? He was a gentleman from.
Head to foot.
Right head to toe, right head to foot. Which means he is totally. But interestingly, Alana Bess, what does he obviously choose to use? Not head, but because it has the connotation of both. It's not just a head when it comes to Richard Corey. There's a crowning to his head. Okay? Yeah?
I was also going to say about soul, it's a double meaning of soul, like the foot, but also like his whole
Yeah.
essence, his soul, like
Perhaps.
goes
The only problem is then it's a homonym, as opposed to the same word. Meaning crown
yeah.
is the crown. So it's
Right.
true. And it's definitely there, as we said, made of truth for sure. Yeah?
I was gonna actually say the opposite, that because it's spelled so like that, it's only like showing
Specific
that
what they're
he's
seeing.
like on the outside, it's only
Externalities. That's cool. That works, because they don't really know, they're not really going to be able to comment on anything they don't see, which makes it more of a physical exhibit thing, perhaps. Yeah?
Maybe it's that he was a gentleman like every way, like the soul is something that's more like connected to the ground and like something that's like more grounded. It's like a down to earth. So like he's like in that sense a gentleman, but also in like his royal status.
Wow, everything about, in all aspects, not
Yeah.
just complete, but ticking off every box. That's cool. What's weird, however, about this expression? What's the normal expression?
Head to toe.
Head to toe. How come? How come?
Higher level first.
Sort of.
Oh,
Not really.
it could be
You're
because
thinking more
It's like what
like
you can
grandiose, yeah?
They can see it from the bottom up because they're on the bottom.
Why is the expression normally? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, okay, maybe. Right, because then they see, like, if he's riding a horse, they see his stirrups first, and then work their way up. That's cool. That could be. Yeah, that's fine. That's cool. That works. Definitely. Why is the normal expression from head to foot? From head to toe?
Because it's everything.
Yeah, but what would
First
you
what you
normally, how would you normally look? You know when you like see someone for the first time, what do you do?
You look ahead and then down. And
You know, you work your way down, right? So there's a completeness. It's at eye level, and then you take everything else in. But what are they doing? What happens when you start the other direction? What are you actually expressing? It's not about completeness. It's also about completeness. But it's not only about completeness. What are you doing? Where are you starting from? And then, right? It's another elevation. It's another raising of awareness. So that's cool because Gabby, I could say either way. It's like all they could see was from their level and then higher, which is what looking from the bottom to the top is. So it fits in perfectly. It's very cool. Okay, so there, it's not the normal head to toe. It's not the normal completeness, although the completeness is in there. And it's not merely it's his head to foot because it's a crown, it's regal. And it's not merely from head to toe, it's elevating again. Everything about this guy is not only dramatically distinct and disparate from who they are, they're the common Eurasian gentlemen, but everything about him is this elevated state of being. You can just picture this guy, just watch him go by, like people do with celebrities or sports people. It's like, I just walk him by. Okay? He was always quietly arrayed, quietly dressed, and he was always human when he talked.
Are we not doing round 4?
We can certainly do that. Check the genie, make sure I didn't miss it, or should I question him on it? Favorite. Sorry to the English. Oh, already. Well, he spells it as American, so I have to. Thank you. That's the fourth line. Clean favored, imperially slim. What do you think? Talking about now the externalities and so on. Yeah, how do they mark him?
Well, imperial also kind of has a bit of a double connotation because it's, imperial is in like an M for a kind of.
What's the other connotation?
I guess it's just like completely.
Oh no, I think it just means regal.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that's. Yeah. I think it always has that connotation. Yeah?
Maybe just the word favored, like it could have just said clean cut or clean looked, clean shaven or whatever, but it's favored, like they're very admiring it.
Right.
Admiration.
Yeah, we have to figure out what that word means, for sure, but it's certainly extra, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah?
They seem to be marking what's different about him compared to, like it's just another way of,
Yes! And if it's just another, we get a little uncomfortable, yeah?
not just
Because
another.
I know, but that's the point. It sounds like yet another. Right, good. So, yeah? Come on. What is this just yet another? Go ahead. What are the distinctions? They are what and he is what?
Physical.
What?
They're physical.
No. What is he and what are they? If you want to go with the continuation of distinction.
He's clean favored and they're not.
Right. He's clean and they're
30.
30.